Good morning, Tallahassee. It's time to wake up War Chant on 97.9 ESPN Radio. Here's WarChant.com's Aslan Hajavandi and Corey Clark.
Welcome on into the program, Monday morning edition of Wake Up War Chant. Thanks so much for being here, folks. I'm Aslan. He is Corey Clark. He works WarChant.com. So do I. Kind of cool how that all works out. The show brought to you by For the Table Hospitality and their 3 awesome locations over in College Town, Central, Madison Social, Township. Go ahead, check them on out. I was thinking of playing Last Dance with Mary Jane, Corey, because it has the word dance in it, but I don't know if it was too relevant to yesterday's development.
Well, no, but that one wasn't. The one you played wasn't relevant either, was it?
No, but it's got a good groove.
Oh, it does. Hey, a lot of Tom Petty has a good groove. But, dance. Florida State is dancing.
Woo!
If you survived the awful selection show.
Oh, stop.
To watch and figure out that Florida State is in the tournament and who they will be playing and where. We got all that information. It was piecemealed together. We finally got it by about 6:40, 6:42, something like that.
Well, here's the thing. One of my friends, and first off, Florida State is a 9 seed playing 8th seed in Missouri in the West region. Game will be played in Nashville, Tennessee. So Florida State, I think 9 teams from the ACC, most of any conference, taking on Missouri out of the SEC. SEC had 8 teams, second most of any single conference. So again, Florida State versus Missouri Friday in Nashville. I don't think the tip time has been announced. I have the bracket in front of me here. It just simply has the days. It does not have the actual times. But one of my friends tweeted out, why did we change the selection show again? And we were literally 10 minutes into the program and had like 55 teams unveiled. Now, we didn't know where they were going, who they were playing, but I don't know. I just want to know whether or not my team is getting into the tournament. And the way they do it, obviously alphabetically, you're all kind of like, rubbing your hands and fingers like, oh, here we go. You hear Florida's name called out. You're like, all right, here we go. It's either Florida State's the next thing or,
right.
Who knows? So I kind of liked it. I thought it was a little bit efficient.
I didn't know. We talked about it when they announced how they were going to do it, what we thought it would be like. And I said, let me watch it and live it and feel it, and then I'll tell you. I didn't like it. I thought it took the drama. It just completely sucked the drama out of it. The good news for Florida State fans who were really worried if they made it or not is if it would have played out how they did it on the old way, Florida State was like one of the last 2 or 3 unknown teams to be unveiled. You know what I mean? Like they were the West region. They were the 8-9 games. So that would have been the last page of the last bracket is when you finally see Florida State's name called. So that would have been some harrowing 35 minutes or so. But, yeah, man, I like the drama of, and now we go to the East region. Here are the Thursday, Saturday games in Pittsburgh, and you're waiting to see if the team you cover, the team you cheer for pops up. It was just the studio audience didn't make it any better.
Cheesy.
The audio was bad. Switching back and forth in that huge studio, they can streamline it a little better, I think. But it's the first time they did it. I get it. It's a 2-hour show, which is crazy. I do like that once they decided to start unveiling the regions, they just went for it. They unveiled 2 in a row, took a break, unveiled 2 more in a row, and then we're done. But, yeah, I kind of hope they go back to the old way. I thought that was kind of fun, the old way.
It was a little bit disjointed because, Greg Gumbel, these guys are not at the comfort of their desk. They're standing up with flashcards in their hands, and they're getting stuff told them in their ear, and they don't know the bracket either. So it makes for a little bit of a more bumpy sort of unveil. But I hate waiting because you're like, oh, here we go. They're about to announce the 8-9 team in this region, so let's all listen to it. And then it's not your team. You're like, oh, can I walk away?
Yeah, you got another 12 minutes before they unveil another 8-9.
Man, we're going alphabetically. And
you knew 12 minutes in that Florida State was in the field.
So, again, they'll be taking on Missouri. Missouri lost to Georgia in the SEC tournament. They were one and done, much like Florida State. I don't know what's going on in the SEC where they got 8 teams in there. Missouri lost 4 of their last 6 to end the season. And the teams they lost to, quite frankly, were some of the bottom feeders in the SEC. I mean, they lost to Kentucky, granted, which won the SEC, but they lost to LSU last month and then Ole Miss. And Ole Miss got rid of their coach in the middle of the season. So I know, obviously, Michael Porter Jr. is the big sort of marquee, big-ticket name for them. We don't know what his health is going to be like. He's got that sort of back issue. Right. I think he said himself he was 50 or 60%, I think, going into that SEC tournament game.
But he did play. He hadn't played, I think, since the first game of the season. For people that aren't familiar with Missouri, or Michael Porter Jr., so you've heard of Marvin Bagley, Trey Young, the Ayton kid at Arizona. Well, going into this season, Michael Porter Jr. was the guy. He was ranked higher than all of them, or at least on par with all of them. Yep. He was a huge deal, who was probably a top 5 pick in the draft if he's healthy. Well, he missed 30 games. He just came back in time for the Georgia game on, I guess, Thursday or whenever they played and lost. And he shot a lot. I think he was like 6 of 18. He didn't have a very good game, but he also hadn't played in 3.5 months. But he is apparently a phenom and maybe one of the most talented players Missouri's ever had. He's probably not coming back for his sophomore year, so this is it for him. And how do you scout a guy that you've only seen him play twice? Also, a little bad break, maybe if you're a Florida State fan, is Missouri shoots a ton of threes. They kind of live and die by it. And Florida State typically dies by teams making a lot of three-pointers. So those might be two concerns if you're a Florida State fan, is you have to play a guy that's going to be a lottery pick who might be playing like he's got something to prove. And then also you play a team that shoots a bunch of threes. But they're not very good. Just like, quite frankly, Florida State isn't great either. I mean, they're 8-9 seeds for a reason. Whoever plays well is going to win. Whoever can knock down shots is going to win. That's the nature of this sport, and certainly for Florida State this season. If they don't shoot well, they can lose to anyone.
48th in the country, Missouri, with 298 made three-pointers. So
yeah,
48. That's a big number.
There's a robust number. People that don't know, there's like 330 Division I teams. So that's top 12% or so, 13%.
Look at this guy doing the math.
The quick math. Little Georgia. I might be 100% wrong, by the way. I don't know if that's anywhere close to accurate, but I feel like it's about the top 12 or 13%.
Don't ask me for any sort of confirmation. And to follow up with Corey, Michael Porter was 5 of 17 from the floor in their SEC tournament loss to Georgia. You guys got rid of your coach, by the way, Mark Fox.
Yeah. Well, we
don't roll like that.
I mean, been there for 9 years, hadn't done a whole lot. Yeah. I'm sure Florida State fans might be saying, oh, well, our guy's been here 16 years, and he hasn't done a whole lot either. But, hey, it should be pointed out, by the way, and I'm certainly not – I don't think Leonard Hamilton is the best coach in college basketball. He's certainly not the best coach in the ACC. He might even be the best coach that's ever coached at Florida State. But that's 6 times in 10 years now Florida State's been in the NCAA tournament, which has never happened before in school history. So if you just take out those first 6 years that he was here, that's a nice stretch that Leonard Hamilton's been on. And when you think about the fact that they lost what they lost from last year's team and still made the NCAA tournament as a 9 seed, I mean, he's so polarizing. But
think of what he lost last year and what he did with it. He barely beat Florida Gulf Coast. That's all.
Well, so is that what we do? Is we judge an entire season on what happens in March? Like, he won 26 games. He did a lot. They were a 3 seed. So the regular season, like when you get in the tournament, to me, it's like if they
win 2 games this year, do you think people will be more excited about this team than they were the 26-win team?
No, I'm not saying that's not accurate. I'm saying that it's such a crapshoot once you get in the NCAA tournament. It's a one and done weird style. It's not, but over the course of that season, he won 26 games with those guys. It was the second most wins in program history. So to just and I'm not attacking you at all. I'm just saying you feel attacked, right? I'll ease off. But I hear that a lot from a lot of fans that, what did he do with that talent anyway? It's, well, we can judge. I mean, Bill Self loses in the second round every other year with great talent. That's right. It doesn't take away, to me anyway, it shouldn't take away from the regular season. Basketball in the one and done tournament, there's always going to be upsets, and if you don't play well, you're going to lose. But having that kind of regular season, I thought was impressive. And just getting to the tournament this year with this team, I think, is pretty impressive. But you're right. If they somehow win 2 games and if they can knock off Xavier in the second round, this season will be seen as much more of a success than last year's season. The NCAA tournament validates everything, or unvalidates it, to make up a word, I assume. Everything. Invalidates. That's probably the right word, right? You can look that up during the break.
Florida public school education, what? I have a new barometer. I don't know if I came up with it originally, but I think, we have the 10-win sort of plateau for football. I think, 40 wins might be the thing now in baseball. This is what I think is fair to expect out of Florida State. We'll talk about it next right here on Wake Up War Chant, ESPN 97.9 Tallahassee.
WarChant.com is the ultimate inside source for FSU football and recruiting. And now you can get in on the action for free for an entire month. WarChant.com is offering a risk-free 30-day trial subscription. Get full access to the #1 website covering the Seminoles just by entering the promo code WarChant30. That's WarChant30. Sign up and get in on the world's most active FSU message boards. Receive breaking news, stories from our award-winning staff, plus get exclusive interviews and videos. Just enter the promo code WarChant30. WarChant.com, your ultimate Seminole sports source.
Yeah, this the real one, baby. I'm telling you, Chi-Town stand up. South side, we gon' set this party off right. West side.
Welcome back into the program. He's Corey. I'm Aslan. It's Wake Up War Chant right here on ESPN 97.9 Tallahassee. Tallahassee Sports Monster. We're brought to you by For the Table Hospitality. They're 3 awesome locations over in the College Town District, Central, Madison Social, and Township. They'll be humming in about a month or so from now when that spring football game rolls around. We'll get to football here in a little bit. Corey, this is what I wanted to talk about.
Like 8 or 9 days from now, spring practice starts up. Coming up. A lot of things crammed in here at
Let's go!
at once.
I'm ready, man. I'm ready and prepared to do stuff that's of consequence to our subscriber base over on warchant.com. Hop on the warchant.com. Check it out. Corey's got a whole bunch of content up right now about Florida State, making it to the tournament, what it means, and I guess the historic significance of this. Again, 6 times in 10 years?
It's pretty good. I mean, it's kind of what you think about with Florida State. You know, you're not going to be I don't think you'll ever be a perennial 10 years out of 10 years team, but 6 out of 10 is the best stretch in school history, which tells you a lot about the school history when it comes to basketball.
Well, here's the thing, too. So get rid of Ham and then do what? You're Texas. You get rid of Rick Barnes. You bring in the hot young guy from the mid-major. You bring in Shaka Smart.
Did they make it?
They made the tournament.
Yeah, they did.
They barely made it in
there.
there. Tennessee, meanwhile, made it to the SEC tournament championship game. They lost to Kentucky, but they look pretty good, Tennessee.
That's the thing. So real quick, just to get back to the point so Tennessee's had a much better regular season than Texas. Much better.
Yes,
they comfortably in the tournament. I think they're 3
ranked,
or 4.
I think they're even ranked.
Yeah, and I think they're a 3 seed, maybe a 4 seed, something high. Or low. How do you do that? Is that a low seed or it's a high seed, right?
Yeah.
Even though it's a low number.
It's like when someone says turn the AC up, does that mean
exactly.
make it colder or hotter?
No, it's really confusing. So, but what if Tennessee gets knocked off in the first round and Texas somehow wins a game or two? Who had the better year? You know what I mean? That's why it's kind of cruel, this whole sport of college basketball, where so much, like you can lose a bowl game in college football and still, like Georgia fans, they're still happy with what they did. Yeah. You know, or Southern Miss fans, for that matter, are probably still happy with the season they had, even though it was a disappointing end. But in the NCAA tournament, so much comes down to 40 minutes, which is basketball's a funny sport. But anyway, go ahead. You were talking about
barometer.
Rick Barnes and barometer and
Rick Barnes, just, so you get rid of, there's no guarantee that you're going to get an upgrade. And I know a lot of people are rolling their eyes like, well, there's not a lot to upgrade over maybe in terms of what Leonard Hamilton
tournament wins.
But
there haven't been a lot of tournament wins.
The guy before him did not do anything of consequence. So, I mean, let's also remember
he was awful.
Yeah, so it's nothing's ever a slam
dunk. And
dunk.
quite frankly, Pat Kennedy was awful at the end. Yeah. Pat Kennedy was very good in the Metro days, got some real talent, and got some Metro, maybe some guys that got into Florida State during the Metro days that might not have been able to get into the ACC during that time. Like I think Doug Edwards was a Prop 48 at that time that I don't think the ACC allowed back then.
Right.
So if Florida State had been in the ACC when Doug Edwards signed, he wouldn't have been allowed to come to Florida State. So, and Sam Cassell too, maybe. I think there's a story there anyway. But he got some players in that as Florida. So remember, Florida State was really good in the ACC right away. Their first 2 years, they finished second in the league. But as those guys left, he wasn't able to restock the roster with enough good players to compete. And Pat Kennedy's last, 4 or 5 years just weren't any good at all. They were pretty average. And then Steve Robinson was awful. Then Leonard Hamilton wasn't great for 6 years, but he kind of put at least the program on some solid foundation. And then, like we said, the last decade he's been to the tournament 6 times now.
And real quick, Prop 48, wasn't that basically you could take an at-risk kid?
Right, but he'd have to sit out a year.
But if he got good enough grades, then he could play. But if he didn't, that was one of those things where they could take a chance on the guy and give him the scholarship sort of money and the perks.
I like that. I'm gonna have an opinion too, but I don't know it either. But I like that we'll spitball it around with each other.
Well, I'm trying to pull it up here, but I can't. I don't want to read a whole.
But I know Leroy Butler of the famed Punt Ruski was a Prop 48 kid, and I thought it meant you didn't get a high enough qualifying score on the SAT, but your grades were good enough, so you could come to school. You could be on scholarship, but you couldn't participate your first year on campus.
You're half right. I was all wrong. Prop 48, as they used to be called, were basically allowed, these players were allowed to enroll at whatever school they wanted, provided they could pay their own way, and focused on just school for 1 year.
Okay.
Now, what happened here, I think, is I'm confused because, and not to get off on a tangent, Donnie Tyndall, who used to coach at Southern Miss when I was in Jackson, Mississippi, part of his downfall there was he was taking kids in as Prop 48 kids, but actually giving them financial aid.
Oh, well,
and you're not allowed to be getting financial aid. So,
and I'm starting to wonder if Doug Edwards really was a Prop 48, and I'm going to be really upset if he wasn't. For some reason, in the recesses of my mind, I think he was. But at any rate, to go back to the point, Florida State's ACC history, the latter years of Pat Kennedy, when the likes of Charlie Ward and Sam Cassell and Doug Edwards all left, he wasn't able to restock the roster with enough good players. He got some good ones like a Corey Lewis here, but not enough to make a real dent in the ACC. And they didn't. I think Steve Robinson got in the tournament one year with a 6-10 league record. And other than that, they didn't sniff the tournament for a decade. And now Leonard Hamilton again's got him in the tournament 6 times in 10 years. Now they've only won 4 games in that span, and I get it. And last year was a disappointment, not just losing to Xavier, which turned out to be a really good Xavier team, by the way, much better than we thought.
Yes.
They're a number 1 seed now, but not even competing in that game was really disappointing to see. There's been obviously some other disappointments in the tournament, but getting there, I think this year, just for this year, is an accomplishment. I mean, I think no matter what happens, it's all gravy because you got in the NCAA tournament when you lost all that talent. 3 guys that are now in the NBA, and Jarquez Smith and Michael Ojo were nice piece role players. They were nice. So you lost 5 contributors off that team, including 3 NBA level sort of. I mean,
XRM's got
he's
the
on the
10-day.
league. Yeah, he's a fringe NBA prospect, but the other guys are legitimate NBA players, and you're in the tournament again. That's pretty impressive, all things considered.
Let's go to the vault. The Sun-Sentinel, July 13th, 1989. Doug Edwards, the standout basketball player from Miami High School, did not meet Prop 48 requirements. Did not score. God, he was the number 2 overall prospect in the nation behind Kenny Anderson.
And ahead of Shaquille O'Neal. I mean, he was a huge deal when he signed with Florida State. That was a huge deal.
Yeah, he fell short of SAT scores.
So I think he played 3 years at Florida State.
Yeah.
And he was really good, by the way. He wasn't Kenny Anderson, Shaquille O'Neal good, but he was really good at Florida State.
Pat Kennedy, great quote here. Doug has academic talent. He's a quiet young man who doesn't say very much. I've had Teron Mays as a Prop 48 and Irving Thomas as a transfer, and both benefited from that extra year. I see no reason the same can't be true for Doug.
There you go. Going back in the vault a little bit.
Yeah, shout out Craig Barnes, Sun-Sentinel, July 13th, 1989. Great story, man. Who knows that I'd be pulling this up on the computer.
Is the internet, by the way?
Yeah, just pull that up on the computer.
29 years later. I mean, that's awesome. It's a good time to be alive, guys.
It's a fantastic time to be alive. All right, back to my barometer real quick here. This is what I think is – I think this is a fair sort of benchmark that Florida State should aspire to, and then you're going to probably shoot this down and tell me I'm stupid. This is what makes a show good.
Right, sure.
Three NCAA tournament wins in 5 seasons. How about
wins
that?
Or appearances?
Wins. You actually have to win 3 games in 5 years.
Or what? It's a bad stretch?
I think it's a bad stretch. At a place like Florida State. So you're either...
What if you win 3 in 1 year and then don't make the tournament the next 4?
I think that's fine because that puts you
Elite 8
that puts you in the
years?
Elite 8. I think I'll take an Elite 8 every 5 years.
Yeah, I mean, I think the reality
or Sweet
is,
16 and then, you know.
I think the reality is with all this stuff, you got to give yourself chances. The more you get in, the more you're likely to get on a run, obviously. You can't make a run in the NCAA tournament unless you're in the NCAA tournament. That's my motto in life. That's what words to live by. You can't make a run in the tournament unless you're in the tournament. So they got the first part out of the way, which is the harder part,
that is.
Quite honestly. You just might get hot from 3.
I thought waiting was the hardest part, but
That's old TP, little Tom Petty. Nice, buddy. Way to bring it back. So, yeah, I see that. I'm more of the getting there, not as much as what happens when you're there because crazy things happen. But, yeah, I mean, I can see that. Actually making some noise in the tournament. You become
that's the thing, though,
you become a tournament team now where you say, okay, we've been there 6 times in 10 years. Looking at this roster, there's no reason to think they won't be back there next year. So, yeah, make some noise in one of these. We got it now. You're getting there. That's good. Now make some noise. I get that. I get that side for sure. Getting there and getting bounced, going 1-2 in 2 years like they would if they lost to Missouri in this one. I get that would be a little disappointing. I just think in this one, just getting there is a pretty nice accomplishment.
Yeah, you're right.
Next year, if you're a 5 or a 4, go win some games, man. Go get to a Sweet 16.
Again, you have to go, past this prologue or whatever. Beginning of the season, this team, if you assess them on paper, You're simply saying, and you're being honest and objective, you're like, this is a bubble team. Well, listen, again, nobody outside of Tallahassee thought they were a bubble team.
I'll be honest, I didn't think they were a bubble team. I was like, I think we did on headlines, we asked what before the season, what are our, and I think one of them said that they thought they'd be in the tournament. I'm like, man, are you
Probably
crazy?
Jeff's got all
Maybe.
optimism.
I'm like, are you crazy? They just lost 3 really good, like they're 3 top scorers. They're, really good players. Why would they be as good or almost as good the following year? But, they made it somehow. Crazy. So I was wrong.
Crazy how that all works
exposed.
Basketball, very good weekend. Baseball, not so much. Could it all be my fault? I don't think so. Somebody says it was, though. We'll talk about that next on ESPN 97.9 Tallahassee's Wake Up War Chant.
You're locked in to Wake Up War Chant on 97.9 ESPN Radio.
What's up, y'all? I'm Aslan. He's Corey. It's Wake Up War Chant. Thanks for being here. Really mean that, by the way. Think about it. How busy everybody is these days, and you're going to spend like 45 minutes kicking it with us.
Yeah, an hour if you're listening to it live on the radio, 45 if you're on the podcast.
Yeah, unless we go overtime on
Friday.
Friday.
Do a little overtime Friday. We'll have to figure out what we're going to do this week because I guess we'll be on the road, at least one or both of us at varying points.
I love Nashville.
I've only been there once, and I really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
It was a good time.
Nashville, really good town. Explain this to me before we get to baseball. So I put this tweet out there, and I'm like, oh, it's going to get so much traction. It's such a good hot take. And it got nothing.
Okay.
So this whole region thing, East, West, Midwest, South, none of it makes sense. Auburn is playing in the Midwest region, but their game is in San Diego. They're located in Alabama.
Florida State's in the West region,
right?
Playing in Nashville.
Right.
It's nuts.
Yeah.
They started it, I feel like they started it maybe 15 years ago, the pods, where they would try just to save money. I remember it because the last good Georgia basketball team, they were like a 3 seed, but they had to play Southern Illinois in Illinois, even though Illinois was like a 6 or an 8. And they lost, of course, because that's what happens. But I was like, man, how is that fair that the better team, just because you wanted to keep Southern Illinois closer to there, it just didn't make any sense. And so they've been doing this pod. I don't know if they still call it the pod thing, but yeah, they try to take care, even if you're in the Midwest. But what really bothers me is, so I used to go to NCAA tournament games when I was a kid. They used to be at the Omni. And it was great. Yeah, I saw East Tennessee State upset Arizona one year. And I saw the Fab Five, their first
run?
Yeah, the first game they played Temple as a 6 seed.
Okay.
The year they made their first Final Four, they were a 6 seed. Anyway, what was cool about it is you would see 2 teams win, then they'd play each other, and then you also knew, okay, I just saw UCLA knock off Kansas. Well, I saw Duke win before them. So I know in the next round, UCLA played Duke. But that's not how it works. Like last year, Florida State played and lost to Xavier. In the very next game, Florida beat the tar out of Virginia. So naturally, you would think, okay, well, Florida has to play
Xavier.
Nope, they're in completely different brackets. Sorry. And so they're off all over the country not playing each other. It just doesn't make any sense. It used to be a little better the way it was. All this stuff, you're in the Midwest region, but you're playing in Nashville. Or you're the West region, but you're playing in Orlando. What? That's what Florida State was last year. They were in the West region because if they'd have won, they'd have had to go to San Diego.
But they were playing in Orlando.
I know.
In the West region.
It's ridiculous.
So I was saying, why not just, they did that whole leaders and legends thing that fell on
make one like the Pete Maravich bracket and one the Bill Russell bracket.
Make the West the Wooden, just like the Wooden region. Make the South the Smith region, Dean Smith.
Wow, what about K? Not the K region? He's still coaching.
He's still coaching. Maybe.
He's got more titles.
Midwest, call it the Knight.
Ooh, I don't know.
Bobby Knight, not the best.
A little polarizing, right?
Okay. And then, this is going to be worse.
I'd rather do the players, honestly.
Well, then do the players or something. East, I was going to do Boeheim.
The Alcindor region.
Ooh.
Although,
Jabbar?
His mama named him Alcindor, I'm going to call him Alcindor.
All right. Hot take.
Yeah. It's a Coming to America reference, kids. I respect his right to change his name, but he's Lou Alcindor. Yeah,
it blows my mind that they do that. And I know they can't make it a region-based tournament where you're taking all the teams from the West and putting them in the West. I understand you have to match them up.
No, but if you're playing in the West region, go out West.
Yeah.
They just announced they made $1.1 billion. They can afford, I don't even know what the difference in cost would be to fly Florida State from Tallahassee to Nashville or to Tallahassee to wherever, Dallas. It can't be that much different. So how much money are they even saving by making them go to Nashville?
I think Florida State makes sense playing in Nashville. The fact that a Nashville,
but they're in the West region.
I know that makes no sense. It's bizarre. Anywho, moving along. It's obviously not going to change, but it's something to think about. We're trying. We're always here striving for greatness. We're chasing
We're chasing greatness. We're never going to get there, but we might. What was it? Chase greatness and stumble on excellence.
Let's stumble, chase greatness, or
Face plant,
excellence, and then
face
end up with
plant into
greatness.
excellence.
It's like keep your feet on the ground, like reach for the star, reach for the moon or something, and whatever Casey Kasem said.
We should write posters. We should have these. Hey, reach for the moon, and if you fall, you might slip into something.
We need maybe to make a motivational poster for the baseball team. Noles win on Friday. Really gutty win. Cole Sands goes 6 innings, and then Jonas Scalaro shuts the door for 3 innings. And man, that kid, that's the guy.
I think he's their guy.
Yeah,
and I think he might be the guy they go to just for 1 inning now too, like 1 or 2 innings. I don't know if he's just the long guy. They might be like, okay, we'd rather use him 2 times in a weekend instead of just the 1 3-inning time.
Yeah, that's going to be the debate, I guess, because I don't know. I feel like it's not broke, don't fix it. He's the guy that, listen, I think at the end of the day, that's all they're ever going to really get out of Sands. They're going to get 6 innings out of him. I don't know if Cole's going to go 8.
But hey, man, if you're giving up 2 and 6, you can do that for the rest of the time, and you'll make a lot of money, and Florida State will win a lot of games.
And then you bring a guy like Scalaro in who can go and get you 9 outs. That's a really good thing. But then fortunes change on Saturday, and so they lost on a walk-off. They actually went ahead in the top of the 9th.
Yeah, took a 3-2 lead.
And then surrendered a walk-off dinger?
Yeah, Kobe Johnson gave up a 2-run homer.
Yeah.
So, and then they played 30 minutes later, and Austin Pollock was not very good at all. Couldn't get out of the second inning. It was his first. And I was wondering about that because it was such a gut-wrenching loss for a team that hadn't lost all year, and they thought, okay, we got ourselves another. We got that run.
Yep.
We got Kobe on the mound. Nobody's touched him. So we're 15-0. And all of a sudden to snatch defeat from the jaws of victory, the momentum is completely in the other dugout. You don't get a day to lick your wounds. You got to play again in 30 minutes. That's a hard spot for a freshman to be in. And he, quite frankly, just didn't handle it well. But it's something to learn from. I mean, you're not going to be perfect every start. But that was a lot of burden on a kid's shoulders to try to bounce back from such a heartbreaking, painful loss. And he's out in the second inning. Gave up 6 hits and 6 runs and got 4 outs.
I love how baseball. We're just going to play a doubleheader. I mean, could you imagine? I mean, football. Irma comes around, and I'm not making light of the destruction it left, but you would have teams that if you had to have I mean, we talk about playing a Thursday night game and then having to play a Saturday game, without a week in between them or whatever, and just how much of a grind it is. But like baseball's like, doubleheader, whatever, conference game, doubleheader, just squeeze it in, let's go ahead and get it done. It's just so crazy how fragile football is when it comes to scheduling and stuff. And then with baseball, it's like,
you
shoehorn
have to move the earth and move mountains to say, you know what? There's supposed to be a huge storm front coming through at 8 p.m. So why don't we move this game to 2 or noon?
Yeah.
Because, the TV money. It's like ESPN's like, no, you're not going to do that. Well, we'd rather broadcast Clemson and Notre Dame in a monsoon than move it to Sunday or move it to noon.
Yeah,
remember that game?
Yeah, Notre Dame also played North Carolina State
this last year. Oh, my God. That was even worse. Yeah.
Bizarre. But no, I think right now, again, listen, it's a long grind of a season. So Florida State now is 14-2 or 15-2?
14-2.
15, I thought. Oh, they're 13 after the past.
Oh, you're right. Yeah, you're right. 15-2. I'm sorry.
They were 14. And then they won 1 in Wake and Winston-Salem and dropped the last 2. I think right now, Drew Mendoza literally his OBP is at 50% right now. He's at 500. He gets on base 50% of the time he's at the dish. Jackson Luke hit a 2-run home run on Friday and told me to shut up.
Right.
I hear you, Jackson. My bad. The bats, that's the biggest thing I take out of this past weekend. I mean, Austin Pollock, freshman, I think he'll bounce back. And if he doesn't, there's so many options, I think, that they can piece together something.
The 1 run, you're not going to win any games on the road with 1 run.
Yeah.
That's what they scored in that third game with Pollock on the mound.
And then, listen, and Friday, they kind of, they blew the doors open. But on
they had
first,
a 5-run inning. But yeah,
the first game of the doubleheader on Saturday, I mean, they put 3 runs on the board, which,
they had 10 hits in the last 2 games combined.
And they're not in the business of winning games 3-2. That's not Florida State baseball.
You can't. Yeah, the offense will have to come around again. I think that's part of baseball, and I do think it will. They got to figure out some stuff with the lineup. I think they got 4 or 5 key pieces that they know are in the middle and going to be there. All the other guys are rotating, man. They got to figure it out, and they're trying to mix and match. And they gave Stephen Wells the opportunity to lead off, and it went 0 for 3 with 3 strikeouts. I mean, they can't figure out everybody around Luke, Rowley, Applin, and Mendoza. There's a lot of moving pieces there. Tyler Holton would have been a big help there. So would Daughtry. And so they lost.
Flowers is doing all right. You almost got to include JC almost in that.
He's
sort
doing
of
okay.
core,
He's doing okay. I mean, I don't think he's not a great college hitter by any means, not yet. But you got 4 really good ones, or pretty good ones. They're really good. They're not hitting the ball exceptionally well right now, but they will. The other guys, they got to figure out a way to get on base and contribute, and not just get mowed over. But again, that's what happens with baseball, man. You look terrible for a day, and they did. Then you come right around, you just beat Florida 14-2. All you got to do is do that on Tuesday night. That'll be easy.
I think I'll be going to that.
Oh, are you?
McKeithen? Right?
Okay.
I've never been there. I've been to games, though. I've never been to McKeithen.
It's not anything.
I
think they're making, they're refurbishing it, but it's not anything special at all.
You know, when I went to Florida State, was in the midst of, I had to get the Chris Ricks years, but I had probably, you can't really call it the golden age of Florida State baseball because we haven't won anything in terms of national championships. But the 2002 and 2003 seasons, they were phenomenal. I mean, 2002, they won 60-plus games, or they won 60 games.
Is that Stephen Drew? Would he have been on that team?
I think so, yeah.
Eddie Martinez, Esteve, and all those guys?
Yeah.
But then they got knocked off by Notre Dame in the Supers, yeah.
Game 3 of Super Regional on a Monday. I remember taking summer classes. But my roommate played baseball in high school and was a pretty decent ball player, and he was huge into Florida State baseball. His gripe always with Florida State baseball is the fact that 11 was always tinkering with the lineup. And I don't know if that's a good or bad thing to use these games to try to figure out who you want to be come May, come June. But at what point, again, he talked about this 50 at-bat sample size. At what point do you just let guys work through things? You joked about it when they were playing Kansas the other day, and Andrew Karp, got off to a bad start, and some of the guys in the press box were like, "Oh, they better get him out of there before this thing really, goes sideways." And you're like, just let him work through it, man. It's March. Yeah. It'll be okay. So, leave Mike Salvatore in the leadoff spot for another 2-3 weeks.
I think
can you not afford to do that once conference play rolls around?
I think the difference with that, they're not going to do anything tinkering with Luke or Raleigh or Mendoza because they know what those guys are. They don't know Salvatore. He hasn't been here. They don't. Maybe he's just overmatched. And how long do you continue a mistake? It's not like like Taylor Walls last year got off to a bad start. Really didn't have a great year average wise. But they knew Taylor Walls is Taylor Walls. We're not moving him out of the leadoff. You're a leadoff spot for the rest of the season no matter what. Salvatore and Bornegal and those guys, even J.C. Flowers to an extent, haven't really earned the right to keep their spot in the lineup, So that the tinkering comes, they're trying to find some kind of spark, maybe a player off the bench, maybe get somebody going that they can ride. I think they thought they were trying to do that with Stephen Wells. That didn't work.
Cooper Swanson, I thought, was going to be the guy.
But he had a couple pretty rough games. And so, yeah, man, it's when you have so many young guys like they do and guys that haven't proven themselves, you're always looking, tinkering for answers.
Yeah, I guess that's the thing, right? Damned if you do, damned if you don't.
Yeah.
If he's sitting there with the same guys and we're all yelling at him for not doing anything. So
right, yeah.
Apologies to you, 11. All right, let's wrap up the program. Maybe talk about some football. That's what brings you guys here most of the time. And the ladies. There's women who also listen to the show, which is cool because when I was in Dothan, we literally one time we had some tickets to give away, and my co-host was like, let's just give it away to the first woman who calls. Doesn't matter if they get the trivia question right. Just if you're a female listener, call right now. We'll give you 2 tickets to the National Peanut Festival or whatever it was.
Oh.
Nobody called. Then I'm like, let's just keep the tickets. We'll do it tomorrow as well. Next day, nobody called.
I'll be honest with you, man. Maybe if you're giving tickets to something somebody wants to go to.
The National Peanut Festival? Watch your mouth.
What, the peanut
Watch
festival?
your mouth, Cora.
What do
Clark.
they do? Is it a parade of peanuts? What do they do at the peanut festival?
I never went to it. I was only there for 1 year and I didn't go. Okay, I went out of it out of an act of defiance. Because I was told I was supposed to go, and I'm like, I don't want to go. I'm not going on my day off.
What you would do at a peanut festival other than crack open peanuts and eat them. But I can do that at a ball game. I don't.
It's literally probably.
Do they have a Miss Peanut Festival?
It's like that. Yes, they do. They have a pageant. It's pretty much like the Alabama State Fair. People tell you that it's bigger than.
So they got rides and stuff?
Yeah, it's like a carnival.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, well, never mind.
Yeah, it's actually, and it's bigger, I hear, than
Can you ride a peanut?
I don't know. I don't think so.
They have the world's biggest peanut or something like that, like an attraction?
No, they have peanut sculptures all around the town, though.
Sweet.
Circle City, man.
All right.
Represent. All right, we'll be right back. It's Wake Up War Chant, ESPN 97.9 Tallahassee.
You're locked in to Wake Up War Chant on 97.9 ESPN Radio.
Man, did they record that on a 8-track player through a potato through a VCR?
Through a peanut, maybe?
Maybe through a peanut. Come on, man. You got clapped
Maybe they were
with
in
you,
Dothan.
Oh, man, be nice to my people in the circle, the little circle. We're the big circle, I guess, here in Tallahassee. It's Wake Up War Chant. That's Corey Clark's voice you just heard. I'm Aslan Hajavandi, Director of Digital Media. He's our senior writer, our lead columnist, our do everything. Corey Clark, everybody give it up one time.
Thank you. I can hear the applause.
So check this out, Corey. Apparently I'm arrogant or whatever. I was being mean to you. Remember, like I wasn't showing the proper reverence or deference to who you are.
Right.
And then I saw a couple posts on the tribal council that said, Aslan, stop with the self-deprecating stuff already. Enough. Like, we like Corey, we like you, too. And I'm like, and then one guy's like, it's way over the top, the self-deprecation I'm doing. I'm like, so what? Like, am I not?
Are you self-deprecating right now, too?
No.
I feel like you're canceling it out.
No.
By the way, apparently, I know you said earlier that we don't know the tip time. We do know the tip time.
Oh, thanks, Corey. Show me up.
It's Friday night at 9:50 p.m.
Ooh.
I mean, of course it is.
Yeah, well, that's great. Right after that, we can head on to 7th Avenue or whatever the main strip of.
Man, I'll
go
be
to
on 7th
honky-tonk.
Avenue before the game.
Go to a honky-tonk.
So that's fun. Got that going for us.
Yeah, shout out. All right, so football, we like that around here. Like it a lot. I think they had another junior day over the weekend, but I couldn't tell you the first thing about recruiting because I'm not Michael Langston, and only Michael Langston knows about recruiting. And Corey does too, but we'll give Corey a breather off diving into his recruiting prowess. So we're going to start doing some spring previews on warchant.com, folks. If you're not a subscriber to warchant.com, subscribe to warchant.com.
You're crazy.
Again, I really want to know how many people that listen to the show are subscribers. Because I figured, I think I would figure that everybody who knows about the show knows about it through Warchant. But I guess some people just type Florida State on their favorite podcast and we'll pop up and, hopefully they read the good reviews.
Well, and also I would say this, if you like this show and you like the information we have, you should be on Warchant. A little shameless plug right there, but the name of the show is Wake Up Warchant. Yeah. But it's a good site. You get to converse with yours truly and Aslan and Ira and Gene. We're on the message boards mixing it up. And also there's a lot of other Florida State fans, like-minded Florida State fans, where you can get into healthy debates. No name calling, which is not true. There's plenty of name calling because it's a message board and it's 2018. It's the internet. But it's still fun and it's still a good time. Most people have a good time on the message boards.
So, yeah, everything he just said is correct. I lost my train of thought.
That's all, man.
I'm getting better at this, hopefully, one of these days. So the thing I wanted to kind of talk about with football is that we're going to be laying out the spring position previews are going to be coming out here in a few days, I think. I don't know how we're going to balance it out with basketball coverage. Obviously, this is going to be a really big deal. Florida State, again, a 9 seed taking on 8-seeded Missouri, Nashville, Friday.
One other quick note about Missouri real quick is that one of their guards that makes all the threes, their head coach announced that he's suspended for the game because he got arrested for a suspicion of DUI over the weekend. So he will be suspended. I can't remember his name. I think it's Barnett maybe. He's made a ton of threes. But he will be suspended for that game, so Missouri will be without one of their starting guards.
Jordan Barnett made 82 three-pointers on the season, if that's who you're thinking about. Kwanzaa Martin. Yeah, good job, Kwanzaa Martin. Way to put your foot down, man. Yeah, don't let that kid play.
Are you crazy? You shouldn't let any of them play. They should all have been watching them. You might as well just forfeit.
And you're right, it is Jordan Barnett.
Okay, well, there you go.
All right, so with football coming around here now, I think we're going to kick it off, obviously, with quarterbacks. So Gene seems to be fairly optimistic because I think he's got a pretty good rapport or source when it comes to the health of the football team, that DeAndre is going to be able to do a lot of stuff once spring starts.
Good.
Pretty much, I think even up to 7-on-7. I think just he won't do any 11-11 live action kind of stuff.
What was his exact injury?
That's another thing that we really need to dive into one of these days. Patellar. He tore his patellar tendon. Now, here's the thing.
He didn't tear it. Ronnie Harrison tore it.
Jerk.
Golly, a Tallahassee kid, too.
We should have recruited him.
Well, that would probably help. Wow. Could you use a kid like that on your defense? No way.
Yeah.
Go to Alabama.
Yeah.
Kid couldn't play at Florida State.
Put Stanford was the third in the backfield on that first game of the season.
Well, apparently it wasn't his fault. Safety wasn't over the top.
But why'd you put him out there in that situation?
Well, I mean, again, hey.
Listen, Brian Dable, I don't know how good of an offensive coordinator he is, but I think when you're like, I don't know who that guy is out there.
And he's guarding Amari Cooper.
Yeah.
Calvin Ridley. A Cooper. I always get them confused. Calvin Ridley. Yeah.
Throw it to him. Throw to
that guy. So, yeah, that's good news, though, if DeAndre is because you need all the reps you can get, man. Yeah. I mean, there is a chance he's going to be the starting quarterback, a decent one. And mental reps are great, but it's not anywhere close to actually being on the field running the offense. So maybe he can't run necessarily, but he can take snaps and move and throw and just not maybe obviously put a lot of stress on the injury.
And I wonder how much he's going to be graded on his attitude out there. Because this is the thing. talked about with, you know, Ira, my whole thing is, and I'll pose it the same question to you as well. Is it more of a mental or medical thing when it comes to DeAndre Francois, like in terms of his, you know, his success this coming season?
I mean, that's a good question. I would think. I mean, not to take a cop out, but I think it's a
both.
And I think the mental thing, man, is like, okay, I think for the spring, he is going to be the rah-rah good teammate. I just think he is. It's a new coach. He's obviously had a talking to. He obviously read that story where Willie Taggart was questioning his leadership skills. So he's going to want to prove he can be the leader. But is he doing that because that's what he's supposed to do? Or is he doing that because that's who he is now? You know what I mean? That's a distinction. Because when things go bad is when you need a real leader that cares and that the other players like him and respect him and want to play with him. And they can see through what's fake and what's real. So has he really changed in the course of 4 or 5 months? And that happens, man. Young people make mistakes and grow up all the time. And it wasn't anything. I mean, it certainly wasn't great, but it wasn't a crime. But he has to grow up. He has to grow up and think more about being a team player, not so much just about himself and what he's doing. And if he does that, he's got as good a chance as anyone, unless he can't move. So that's why I said I think it's both.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I think if he's really hobbled by it and can't get the reps in, then I think Blackman could get such an advantage that it might be hard to overtake him in the fall.
I've always wanted to be like a cool dude, like a cool guy. So I'm going to pretend I'm Willie Taggart here.
Oh, okay.
It's hard for me to think that you've just taken this job here at Florida State. You've heard maybe some rumblings about, you know, this, that, and the other when it comes to some of the guys on the roster. And then, like he told Andre Adelson, you know, Willie got here and DeAndre was still missing meetings. Now he's changed.
Right.
He did change.
He also tweeted out about his coach saying no call, no text, no nothing.
Right. That doesn't bother me that much. But
my
thing
he was the only one that did it.
Yeah.
You know.
I still think that there's got to be some sort of handicap that he's at right now in terms, not a doghouse, but I would still think that everybody's at even level, but he might be just a little, like he's got to do a little bit extra, I think, to catch James Blackman, just in terms of how you're going to carry yourself. Because I think Willie Taggart played quarterback, so he takes this thing seriously, as did Jimbo.
Right.
Not that I don't know if Nick Saban, it's not his thing. It's just, you handle the offense, I'm going to make sure no one can do anything to us on defense. But when you've played quarterback and you realize how important it is to lead people, and you're coming in with this positive message and you want to change the culture and all that sort of stuff, and you realize that a guy like that was doing things like that, even when you got on the watch out here, I still think there's going to be he's got to go the extra yard. And again, we'll see how genuine it is, because it's not going to be just 1 week of him doing that and getting in Willie's good graces. I don't think it's not going to be a month. It's not going to be 15 practices. He's going to have to start doing it. You know, he started doing it here, I think, you know, a few weeks ago, but he's got to carry that out throughout the entire spring and then through the summer.
Yeah, because if it's even, who would you pick if you're the head coach? You know what I mean? He's got to prove, yeah, like you said, that it's not just a one spring type thing, and people change. People realize when something's taken away, like an entire football season, and then they see themselves criticized in an ESPN article. Man, I need to grow up. I need to grow up and become a teammate and think about other people besides myself. And maybe that's what's happened, and we'll see. But you can bet that Willie Taggart's going to be keeping an eye on that, and so are all of his teammates. And is he going to be a different guy? Is it going to feel fake, or is it going to feel real? And if it is real, more power to him, man. People grow up all the time. I was a dummy when I was 20. I certainly hadn't accomplished anywhere close to what DeAndre Francois accomplished by the time I was 20 years old. I probably still haven't. So, I mean, he's done a lot of really good things to get to where he is. He's obviously trained, and he's
taking his vitamins,
really
good,
his
prayers,
all that
brother.
Stuff, man. So he's done a lot of really good things to get to that, to get to where he is. It's just one other thing that he needs to show improvement on.
That was some good self-deprecation you did back there.
That's what I do, man.
Well,
that is what I do.
I mean, and real quick, too, I know we got to wrap things up, but I think so many people are married to this idea that Willie needs a running quarterback to make his offense go. And listen, Quentin Flowers was amazing what he did in Tampa at USF with Willie. But in Oregon, and I don't know how much it was by necessity because he had so many injuries, but that's where he really started giving the running backs the ball and spreading things out. So it's
and
not
even Aber, I think it's Aber or Hebert. I don't know
Herbert.
how you pronounce that. Herbert, yeah, Herbert.
Yeah, it's not. He's not Louis. He's not Cajun. Not Cajun.
He's not a runner, but he's a really good quarterback, and he's an NFL prospect. Well, he didn't run them. I mean, and the offense still did well when he was the quarterback. When he got hurt, it was terrible. But when he was the quarterback, they did well. So I think he's the kind of coach that kind of adapts to who he has and his personnel. It's not necessary. And Francois is not a 4-3 guy, but he can move. Yeah. But he's not going to run for 140 yards. Neither is Blackman. They just have to be able to move in the pocket and make some plays with their feet. But they're not going to be Tim Tebow in it or Tommy Frazier in it or name another.
Why'd you pull those two guys? You couldn't say like Johnny Manziel in it, Fran Tarkenton in it.
I should have just kept going and go. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know why those two came to mind. Well, I'm always thinking about Tebow.
Do you want to repent for that at all? We're about to end it for the day.
I was just trying to see if anybody drove off the road.
All right, good job.
On Wake Up War Chant, me admitting.
Wake up,
War Chant.
There you go.
Wake up.
All right, he's Corey. I'm Aslan. Thanks so much for listening to the show. Let's reconvene tomorrow. We'll talk to you then.
These recruiting updates are nothing but fluff.
Are you wasting your time again on free blogs and social media to get the scoop on FSU recruiting?
Yeah, it's all bait and switch. Get me excited with a headline, but get nothing in return. You're on warchant.com. What's really going on with FSU recruiting?
Could be another top 5 class, but for the real scoop, you'll need to get your own War Chant subscription.
What's it cost?
Free. There's a 30-day trial offer. Just sign up and you'll get full access through signing day. And nobody has more accurate and timely information on recruiting than warchant.com.
You know I like free. Sign me up. Warchant.com, your ultimate Seminole source.